Hello and welcome to this virtual TechGirl Masterclass on technology innovation and you, held in honour of Innovation Day. Now, this is our first TechGirl Masterclass of 2026, and it will be the first of many events, both virtual and in person, that the community can take part in. Now, you can check out our website for more information on this on our events page. I'd also like to add that it's been amazing to connect young women in the tech girl community with senior leaders in technology, like our speakers today, through tech girl events and mentoring over the past 3 years. We've got loads of new mentors on board this year, and a lot of them are offering work experience. So if you are interested in that, please do reach out to myself or one of the team regarding those opportunities. Now, if you're watching this, you are probably curious about technology, creativity, or maybe even changing the world. But you might also be wondering, what does innovation really look like, and how can I be part of it? Today, you'll hear from three incredible women shaping the future of technology across education, banking, government, and digital services. Now, they started where you are, as students and as curious learners, and now they lead major digital transformations. So, without further ado, let's meet our panelists.
Thank you, Kani, and hello, everyone. I am really, really happy and I feel very privileged to be part of the Tech Girl community and a mentor. A little bit about myself. So, I have some 23 plus year experience journey. So, I started from book publishing and working in the digital media, as we used to call it back then in India. And then I came to the UK, took a bold leap in 2008, and then have been involved in the private sector first 8 years, and then moved on to the UK public sector from Parliament, Houses of Parliament, Government Digital Services, then Cabinet Office, where I stayed almost 10 years. And now I've jumped to the other side, which they call in public sector consultancy. So I'm at BetterGov, leading their digital offerings as director of digital. I look after the public sector, products, services, anything digital. Also look, including, so when I say public sector, talk about local government, central government, and also trying to get into higher education. Um, why I got into digital. I did not get into digital thinking that I'm getting into digital. So my background is English literature, so I have a master's in that. And I first actually got into book publishing, Macmillan, and then I always loved to write. So I did a lot of freelance journalism with the Times of India, India Today, Cricinfo, etc. And it so happened that an opportunity came to me from the Times of India to join their digital arm, which was India Times, which is India Times. And, not trying to go out of the line, but India during 2008, and I realized that after coming to the UK, was much more advanced when it came to technology. We had VoIP, we had vblog blogging, and that's what really got me interested. So it was around 2003 2004 I started in that world, and it was so intriguing because what really interested me was how I was trying to solve problems using technology, not the other way around. So being able to do that and serve, the public, the users who are using it was just phenomenal. And that constant urge to learn more and see what you can experiment and the innovative ways of doing things. And to me, innovation over the years I've learned is not only about kind of shiny stuff. It's more about different ways of working, how you collaborate on new things, etc., etc. So that's what really got me into this. Um, on top of all this, I think over the years now, worked around 23, 25 years. What really draws me to this kind of thing, especially Tech Girl and the other communities I'm part of, is giving back to the society, what I've learned not to do, what I've learned to do better, giving it back to this new generation. Because believe me, if I had the support you guys are getting through organizations like Tech Girl, it would have been much easier. So it's my small way of giving back. I'm part of other communities like the United Nations Women. She inspires Hot Topics as well, and Tech UK. Like, just as much as I can, give back what I've learned over the years of failures and improvements, what's really worked well, and just, help the younger generation believe in their dreams. There is this one thing I want to kind of end with on my introduction, which stays with me, is one of my mentors. She actually said that, just seeing how I have kind of come from India and our backgrounds were similar. So she's done masters in literature as well, and just seeing how I've used a different background to make an impact at a global level, that has really motivated her to kind of pursue her dream. And I thought, oh my god, that's huge, that's legacy for me with Joanna, and we were talking a little bit before this, and that's the ripple effect I'm trying to create. And I'm trying to do it in my own small ways, but I hope when all of us in our small ways do this, we're going to we are creating a movement, right? And with that, I'm going to hand over. Otherwise, I can just keep talking. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, dear. Appreciate it. All right. And Joanna.
Thank you, Connie. And thank you to the Hot Topics team for sponsoring such an effort, an initiative, I should say, that's so near and dear to my heart and so critical. I would second what Dia shared. If there were only a very few mentors in my life early on in my career, that definitely were the game changer. So I'm happy to pay it forward, and it's, for me, an obligation, but a welcome obligation and a responsibility. A little bit about me. So I am a former CIO of Unicredit. I just left December 31st after more than a 25-year plus career that started as a computer engineer. And then I took a very linear path, I would say, during my career, in the sense of started out as an engineer, but then really transversally dabbled in quality assurance, help desk, data center operations, all sorts of kind of circular, areas of IT, and then moved into management. Everything from supervisory management roles to project management to program management, COO, CIO, CDIO, so various titles like that. And then I would say my career is marked by a few characteristics. One is I've done some consulting work before for the large consulting firms. I've mainly worked in financial services, so whether it's corporate banks, retail banks, hedge funds, custody banks, so financial services consulting. My entire career was not based in technology. I also spent time in the business, and I think this is pretty important now as we see the topic of digital is really not only about technology, it's the enabler to allow the business to achieve their strategic objectives. And I would say the other characteristic is that my career is very linear, is very international. So I lived and worked in the US, but at a young age began taking responsibility for global teams, and then have had the pleasure of living and working in London, in Asia, and now Italy. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to allow the floor to my colleagues so that we can also then get on with the discussion, Connie, which I think a lot of the girls will find quite interesting for our take on innovation.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Pallavi.
Thanks, Kani. It's lovely to be here. And I've always, dreamt if I had a mentor when I was growing up, but it's time to give back in this type of community. So I'm very, very much happy to be here. So I started my career as an individual contributor in technology team. I've gone through organically across different roles in tech. I've been into development, testing. I've been in transformation roles. I've been in the kind of a consulting role, in the audit roles, multiple roles, release management. So everything, like I have had the privilege of experiencing those roles. And my last role was with Pearson. I was a director of technology transformation. I quit last year, and I have decided to start my own company. So now I am a founder and CEO of AI and MetaWeb Technologies. It's an early startup, so focused on the health tech. And I'm currently doing market research. I've fallen in love with the problem I want to solve. And beyond this, I can't tell you more about it. So you can follow me on LinkedIn to know more about what I'm going to do in terms of the product and innovation. I've had variety of experience across different regions as my colleagues here. So I've worked in the, obviously I'm from India. I've worked in the US, I've worked in Singapore, and I've been in the UK from last 10 years. And across my career journey, I've been fortunate to have really good mentors who have helped me to grow and supported in my career journey. And I think this is the time to give back to the community. So I've been a mentor across many other platforms like Read and Unbound and other platforms and Tech Girl. So very happy to be here. And I have my daughter who is also in getting into tech. So it feels so nice to inspire the next generation and give back to the community. So very happy to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you very much, all. And we're going to dive straight in. So, the question I'd like to put to all of you is, when you were 16, did you imagine that you'd work in technology or innovation? What did you think your future would look like at that age?
Answer is no. No. At 16, I had no idea that I would do anything around technology, because at that point, that's the thing, I thought technology meant just coding and, or being an engineer, and I had no wish to be a software engineer or a coding. I loved writing and storytelling, and that's why I started publishing. Um, and then my kind of I think my experiences kind of took me towards what I wanted to do. And what I realized through the experiences, I loved solving problems. I loved listening to people, understanding what doesn't work for them, and then try and translate that. And eventually, while doing that over the years, I kind of know my background's always been in user research from a term point of view, product management, service design, the user centered delivery, which all the jargons, but that's how I started. I've never had a formal education of product management. It's much later you do these certifications, etc. So I did, and this is why I didn't realize till much later that technology was actually what you're after. But then that doesn't work if you don't understand how to use it, because technology is an enabler. So to answer your question very simply, no. And careers aren't straight lines. They become like stepping stones, and you don't need to see the whole staircase at 16. You kind of follow your heart and you learn on the way, and that's exactly how my career's evolved. I can say that quite confidently now. At that time, there was a point I was like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? But it just sometimes helps to follow your heart. So, no. But it's, yeah. And for me, I think what Joanna said later, I've understood it's all about the people, the user. Technology, digital is just an enabler of solving problems.
So when I was 16, it was not guaranteed that I would even attend university. So I grew up. I grew up as a first generation Greek woman, and culturally, my role in society was a domestic one from my parents who immigrated from Greece to the United States. It was not a professional one. This didn't resonate for me, and instead, it motivated me and drove me to define who I am today, while I was still respecting the heritage and the background that I came from at the same time. And what I imagined what my future would look like was not technology. I did actually eventually attend university, at the right kind of stage and time in your life. I was going for a business management degree. and I was working at the university in the office of the Department of Computer Engineering and worked for the department chairperson, who was completely appalled that I was not interested in technology, that this was the future, and for 2 years chased me to at least try a technology course. So I took one mainly because I wanted to tick the box and satisfy her. Didn't think I would like it at all. It turned out that because of how I'm wired in terms of my analytical mind, problem solving, very structured, coding, engineering worked for me. But it wasn't where I started. And when coming from the background that I came from, I said I was very motivated and driven. So I imagine being a leader, doing great things, but breaking barriers when I was 16, even though it was a lofty goal, if you can imagine, I was not supported to go to university. I didn't really have the vertical content to know if it would be technology or what it would be, but I knew I wanted to be a leader and to do great things.
Wow, okay. Pallavi, did you have the same thoughts at the age of 16?
Yeah, it's a similar one. Honestly, at 16, I had no idea that I'll be a tech founder one day. I didn't even think myself as technical at 16. So all I was very curious, and I liked solving problems like Joanna. So I thought my future would be stable and structured, just doing some job, which will give me financial independence, and that's it. But not building what currently I'm doing, like building from scratch, and nothing of that sort. I never dreamt of that when I was 16. And but what I learned is that you don't need a perfect roadmap when you're at 16. So you need that curiosity, you need that courage to explore, and curiosity is more important than having a perfect plan.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to what you just said about not being, techie enough, right, at that age. I feel like a lot of young women feel like they don't fit the tech stereotype. What would you say to them to kind of advise them on that, do you think?
I think if you feel that you're not it's you don't fit into that, I think that I would say that's your advantage. So because technology you need the diversity, you need the people, like having different perspectives, experiences, and that's what it makes a real. You can build a real technology which can actually solve the problems of the, whatever that is, with the diverse perspective. So don't feel that you don't fit into the technical world. Technology or the coding can be learned later. So what comes first is your critical thinking, your way to solve the problem and understand the problem really. As I said, love your problem, fall in love with your problem first, than this technology solution what you have. So once you have that, so you need to understand it, have the empathy, and then comes the coding can come later point of time. So not having a technical skill or a coding skill is not at all big thing. So what really matters, your curiosity, and so your skill to solve the problem there.
I think most of us, we've said we love solving problems, right? And I think that goes on to say that because we didn't understand that coding was like a skill you need, it was more about a personality. So for me, creativity is kind of everything. So how do you like ask better questions, reimagine, how can you make that easier for someone to understand it? So like as Pallavi said, it's that resilience, it's collaboration, how you work together, it's the problem solving attitude, how can you combine ideas from a lot of different things, like how can put yourself into someone else's shoes to see, okay, if I want to, how could I help that person do it if I were them? And that's the kind of curiosity and out of the box thinking that really really stretches your imagination, and just be confident, because failing, you fail and then you learn and you get up, and it's okay not to be perfect all the time. And I think it's these failures that kind of evolve you, and the experiences that make you, so even if someone is not a coder or doesn't even want to go near coding, they can still go into the technology. I'm a great example of someone who never wanted to be a software engineer, always been an arts, humanities, commerce kind of a person. But all I wanted to know what I always knew about me is I want to serve the users, whether it's citizens, customers, internal users. So solving their problem, understanding what they're struggling with, helped me kind of use technology to solve it. So just thinking big, I think, and just be confident in thinking.
Joanna, you perked up when Dia mentioned confidence. Anything to unpick there?
Well, I like this question where you were saying that many young women feel they don't fit the tech stereotype, and I've actually mentored many young talents that came from this, right? And my simple answer is to be true to yourself, because I think some of this feeling is baked into society, baked into culture, baked into gender stereotypes of what a female should or should not fit or do. And I get this because I came from that background. Um, so, be true to yourself, right? Like, ask why you don't think you fit in, and really educate yourself or read or learn about what is tech, right? It isn't simply engineering. It's not about coding, in a basement. And you don't have to be a nerd to succeed. So if you have an interest in tech, it's valid. And it's about skill, not gender. And again, educate yourself on what roles are available in tech, because it isn't strictly coding.
Okay, lovely. Well, let's rewind and go back to your current roles, right? And what innovation means in your day-to-day jobs. What is innovation beyond the usual buzzwords that we hear?
So I opened up by saying I was the former CIO of Unicredit. Exactly 1 week ago, I launched my own strategic advisory firm called JP Global Consulting. And so when I think about, my past experience and current trajectory, what does innovation actually mean? I mean, I think people think about innovation so closely connected with breakthroughs that will change an industry or a technology that redefines our future. But the reality is, innovation goes far beyond these grandiose manifestations, right? So, in simple terms, for me, innovation is not about the outcome, but it's about four things when I think about innovation. For me, innovation is about embracing change. Secondly, challenging the status quo. Third, like reimagining the familiar. So, thinking outside the box to improve our day to day, my team's day to day. And fourth, creating value to improve our overall quality of life by taking what's mundane, routinous activities into opportunities for creativity and growth. So again, I think we have this view, and it's correct that innovation is closely connected with breakthroughs and redefining industries, or a technology redefines our future. But for me, day to day, I mean, these are the four kind of elements or attributes of what innovation means for me.
Very similar to what Joanna said, the four things, but I've written it slightly differently. So for me, it's not nothing, no shiny new tool, no shiny gadget. So in my day job, what does it mean actually? Because I love solving problems. I think I've said it so many times now. It's something about spotting something that isn't working well, then understanding why isn't it working well, then getting the right people together to solve that problem. And now, how you solve that problem using technology data is another thing. But then embracing the problem you're trying to change and the impact. So, as Joanna said, it's embracing the change, because sometimes people think, oh, this technology, this piece of software, this piece of thing is going to like really create an impact. But if you don't know why you're doing it, and if you don't know how you to use it, it's not going to really change. And that's why you kind at some point you don't like new change, you don't like new things. But I think it's starting with the what and the why and the problem that is innovative. So it's the innovative ways of working, and the mindset, the thought process, that's day-to-day innovation for me. And if you can change it depending on what problems you're trying to solve.
Okay. Pallavi, I know you have a top secret project that you can't talk about, but is there anything innovative that you do in your role that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I agree to what Dia and Joanna mentioned about the innovation. So innovation sounds like a buzzword, but in reality, it's very practical, not dramatic breakthroughs every day. So most of the time, noticing the small frustrations when people are stuck, overwhelmed, or wasting time, improving that matters. Yeah, and there are actually different types of innovations. It could be related to product, it could be related to the process, it could be related to the experience as well. So in the day-to-day life, innovation usually means asking, why are we doing this way? Can this be simpler? So innovation isn't about invention all the time, it's about the improvement. So what improvements we are making there.
Okay. And can any of you share, a real example of a problem that you've helped solving, to you through technology? What kind of I'll give you another example or a question. What's one innovation mistake that you've made and what did that teach you?
So basically, 4 years ago at Unicredit, with my team, we built a group-wide DLT, distributed ledger technology platform. There was a single use case in Germany for a single purpose. The leadership changed during that project, and even though we went live into production, it didn't really fully materialize. And it was almost a standalone, kind of silo and isolation. So we didn't do anything wrong from a technology perspective. We ran RFI, RFPs, went with market leaders. The architecture was well recognized. But what we didn't do was the soft stuff. We didn't socialize that. We didn't get support across stakeholders outside of Germany or even stakeholders within Germany business, right? Exploring other use cases or going to other countries. So it sat for quite a while, in isolation because we didn't have the support once the stakeholders and business sponsors changed. It was also seen to be a bit too innovative. But now with the ECB, the European Central Bank, advancing towards a potential 2029 launch of the digital euro and the central bank digital currency, it's gaining much more traction, right? But that was a mistake. And again, it wasn't about the technology. Sometimes it has been, right? I mean, it's normal because the technology environment changes so fast to take a wrong decision or an architecture decision that's not right. But in this case, I draw this as an example because it goes back to what I was saying before. You don't need to be an engineer strictly to be in technology. You need the soft skills, as well as to be successful overall.
Yeah, I think the mistakes are great in your career, and the failures are essential to master the resilience. So I've learned a lot of my lessons, or my learning has been outstanding when there is a failure. It's not about me doing the failures or making mistakes a lot of time. It's about learning and seeing from others as well. So in my career, I moved too fast in some of the programs where I assumed and understood the problem without validating it deeply enough. So I learned that speed without that clarity create the waste. So now I listen, I test in a smaller, batches, and I validate before scaling. So speed is powerful, but that clarity of an understanding is essential. So I would say, like, you learn from your mistake, but create that space where you can actually fail, but you learn from that.
I think one of my biggest learnings have been having learned to say no. Um, in government or in the public sector in general, um, there are sometimes situations where it's beyond your control. You have to deliver really quickly at pace, sometimes with very limited resource, less money. Um, Even though I knew what I was being, and this is in not recently, but middle stage career, where I was not enough confident and not so much experience to say no as I am now. So I have, to my, people in command, if they would tell me something to do, even though I knew this is not the right approach, I would just say yes and go on with it. But I could see that, oh my God, if you don't do it properly, if you don't do full research right now, or if you do not descope some work right now, this is going to impact your budget, your, the way you're developing a solution, because you're doing patchy works, you're not doing end-to-end testing, you're not implementing a feedback mechanism, you're not testing with real users, you're only building something on the assumption of what you think. And what we learned is that couldn't be scaled. So that was not cost effective. There was like, later when we did a show and tell and all, we already knew that some other teams were working on a separate thing, whereas basically you're reinventing the wheel where you could have reused. So again, to Joanna's point, we didn't do proper stakeholder engagement, we didn't have a proper comms plan, and all this was because I was trying to not please, but trying to just go on with the system and saying, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. And I used to do it, even working crazy hours, but doing something which was not the way I would do it again. So that has started me to say, helped me to say no, um, in a way that is respectful, and because you say no with a solution. And that's what has taught me over the years, that no, this is not the way to do it, because if you do it like this with evidence, more analysis, it's going to, and that whole way dealing with stakeholders has really, really helped me evolve as a senior leader. And I think one of my huge suggestions to this young generation is, um, just, it's fine to say no, because if you really believe that what the other person is saying is just not making sense, or you could do it a bit more smartly, it's just about presenting it to them in a softer way, uh, but still making your point. So I think that's a really critical thing. Just because you've less experience than someone else doesn't kind of overshadow that at all.
Absolutely. It's about setting those professional boundaries.
Yeah.
You've all mentioned this at some points in this masterclass, but let's go back to creativity in technology, right? How important is that, and how can students and tech girls in our community start developing it?
For me, it's just thinking out of the box. Just go out of your comfort zone. Like, just think as much as you can to solve what the problem is. It's, I think, the basic thing that helps in the end is really understanding your audience, read the room. And if you can do it in a really creative way, that is how you can connect to the person you're trying to help. So it's that connection, it's that relationship creating. It's all about the hearts and mind. Technology, digital is just an enabler. The more you're all about the heart and the mind, believe me, the other things can be learned. Like, yes, I would suggest please read widely. Like, I love reading, listen to podcasts. Just keep yourself really well informed about what's happening in the market. And that doesn't mean happening in the market as in new technology. Yes, keep a stack of the emerging technology, but read about leadership, read about failure, read about what not to do, read, just keep reading, try experimenting things at even a smaller scale, fail quickly. This whole model around that we keep reiterating in the government world, test, learn, fall, iterate, that has actually been modeled because people have experienced that. It's fine to fall, but creatively use that failure to kind of evolve and find out different ways of solving the problem. So I think it's that's the basic foundation. And just think big. Like, do not worry, do not let anything stop you.
Right. Fail and use that failure to boost that creativity. I think that's what I took away
Yeah,
from
it's design better experiences, right? From that failure, what you've learned. Exactly.
Joanna. What do you have to add to that?
Connie, you really struck a chord for me on this because, again, I think this is so opposite from how people think about technology, but creativity is the driving force behind technology because it drives the problem solving in technology. creativity is so powerful because of its ability to solve problems in unique ways. And it takes a creative mind to figure out how to address the problem effectively. So, how can students start to develop it? I mean, there's so many exercises, games, activities that, someone can take to develop and learn how to be more creative. And I think it's always good to have a hybrid approach. But I'm going to share some food for thought for the Tech Girl Masterclass on how to develop creativity, but in a practical way, right? So for me, creativity is innovation. So we've probably heard the saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So, come up with something different if something isn't working, right? Secondly, like Dia said, creativity is thinking outside the box. Everything doesn't always have to be black and white. Sometimes something that's unusual or oddball are the solutions that work. Third, for me, creativity is also what I call improvisation. So things don't always turn out the way you plan. I'm sure everyone on this call can attest to that. So, like when I've realized that a particular approach or leadership style isn't working with my team midway through, I toss it out and start all over. So you have to improvise. You try a different angle and it works. Creativity is about professional growth, right? Because we don't have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers after many years of working. So if you can't figure out what to do, lean on your fellow students or coworkers or family or friends as resources for inspiration. This is part of creativity. And I think also for me, another element is that creativity is about being a risk taker or a mold breaker. So I've had so many crazy ideas over the years within organizations that I've worked with my teams or for digital transformations I've led. Some have worked and some haven't, just like Dia said, fail and fail fast. But I found that trying was better than being stuck in the same pattern that isn't working. And last, I think from a practical view standpoint is think of creativity as a passion. It goes back to being passionate about what you're doing, being true to yourself. You're there to solve a problem, develop an idea, inspire others. And if you want others to love the solution to the problem or love the idea you have to first love what you're doing. And passion drives and brings out creativity for me.
Yeah, I think that's essential. They've Joanna and Dia covered most of it. So I would like to just add, as they said, creativity is the foundation, or it's essential. Technology without creativity is just machinery. So creativity is what allows you to imagine better systems, better experiences, better futures. So students can develop creativity mixing the different interests. It could be with art and AI. It could be psychology with data, with the design and engineering. So the future belongs to the people who combine different worlds. And I would strongly suggest students to pick one problem that honestly frustrates them and try to solve it and see, build something very small, join the tech community, use there are lots of AI tools out there, try them out, and shadow someone in the industry. So don't wait until you feel confident 100%, so you're never going to feel that. So when you start to build on these actions, that gives you more confidence and not the other way around.
There are lots of hackathons that happen, whether it's in the private sector, in the government. Um, I mean, I'm sure between the three of us, we can share some of that, but just keep a lookout for that because those are communities which give you access to a lot of resource tool, sometimes free, to go and just do stuff that you like, whether it's in the coding bit or whether it's art or, like it's just a way to kind of draw upon your own skills which sometimes you don't even know that you had, and just talking to people, the kind of people you meet at those hackathons, and sometimes you have the best ideas there. And government does a lot of things that has actually happened, because I remember when I was in government, 10 Downing Street, there were small hackathons and AI stuff, and they would then promote that small idea which became like a good business model. So, these things happen. Just keep an eye out. And I'm sure this community, we can help gathering some of that resource as well. Kenny. I think that was just one thing I wanted to add on this.
That was great. Thank you, Thea. And I had like a little question for you guys, just to follow up on what you've already said and mentioned. What gets your creative juices flowing, right? I know you mentioned podcasts and books and other kind of resources, but what's one thing that really gets you getting all creative?
I don't have a thing that gets me going. It's very situational. I personally write, so I write poetry. Um, Anything can just trigger my creativity. But it just needs to hit that strike that chord, I think. Um, yeah, it can be anything. Like I'd gone down to a couple of years back, I'd gone to the Dales. Um, that triggered my creativity, and nothing to do with technology. Just walking in the Dales just made me kind of do a V blog at that point. So yeah, I think it's just what strikes the chord. I don't have a thing.
I was going to say when I have downtime. So in a typical workday, there's not a lot of thinking time. So when I have downtime, whether that's literally laying in bed at night or taking a vacation, like, changing the scenery, basically exploring, right? So this is, and I'm speaking with others that have nothing to do with technology. It really starts, it inspires me. It's, I start thinking about things because I'm not wired for, the work that I'm doing day in, day out, right? Whether it's a digital transformation, whether it's a board meeting, whether I'm preparing to speak at a conference. So for me, it's downtime, like opens up my mind and I start thinking about things in a creative way.
Not a poetry person, but for me, whatever I do is the purpose and the impact it makes. So that gives me a lot of boost and energy. So obviously now I'm into entrepreneurship. So I read a lot of books about the mistakes entrepreneurs made and how they are able to come out of that and learn and be successful. So similarly, I think one needs to identify what is that they want to do. Yeah, so what's their purpose, whether it is becoming getting into the tech job or whatever they want to do. What is that they need to understand what they want to do first, and then start creating the steps to go there. So you become your own CEO of the world. So what is your purpose, and then define the steps of getting there. So identify that. And yeah, there are a lot of motivational stuff. You find it on the podcast. I listen to a lot of Spotify podcasts on the self improvement or motivational talks, and people who have actually navigated. So for example, like you want to be an entrepreneur, so you want to actually listen to the podcast of the entrepreneurs who are successful. So listen to those things which gives you motivation and which can drive you to be successful in the future.
I think just conversations with people sometimes inspire me a lot. I've met over the past couple of years, I've met some really inspiring people in the most not so expecting places, but also because I do a lot of public speaking and network. Um, and for me, this whole transformation, digital transformation, all this, it's about people, right? So you meet people and you learn, and then you suddenly go like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Let's do something about it. So I think conversations trigger creativity for me as well. So yeah, conversations as well.
All right. Well, I'd like to hear more about how technology can be used to kind of improve the world, right? The innovative ways that people are doing this. So, my question to you guys is, what areas of tech, like AI, clean tech, health tech, will create the most opportunities for young people like our tech girl community?
Going back to being true to yourself, being passionate, having a purpose, those are common themes that we've heard today. I personally would say, instead of focusing on technology because technology is going to change, right? Focus on, focus on technology focusing on technology for the sake of opportunities that'll be created is not the right thing to focus on, in my view. focus on, as a young person, your interests, your passions. For example, maybe they've had a personal experience with a family member's health or medical topics, and this drives them to health tech because technology transcends all industries, whether it's pharma, environment, health, banking, just to name a few. And technology will come and go. So it's important that you know your passion, that you're purpose driven, and that you're aligned with this, right? So that's how I would that's the advice I would give to an up and rising talent. To answer the question more concretely in terms of the areas of technology for pure technology's sake, when you read, when I started to read at the end of 25, early 26, what's going to create the most opportunities for young people, it's clearly AI, big data, networks, cybersecurity. These are the fastest growing skill areas, but know that the technology skills will come and go or evolve, right? So focus on, like I said, your passion, your interest, because technology will take you across industries.
I completely echo Joanna's sentiments, and the only thing I'll add to that is sometimes, and I've seen this because I had founded the Women in Digital Network for Cabinet Office, ran it for 5 years before thing, and this was not for students; it was for women, young adults. And what we realized there is some people do not even know that, say, what product management is or what user research is or what service design is or what does a cyber policy. So I think, as Joanna said, follow your passion, because what you really want might actually be digital transformation. Or so don't kind of go by the jargons, don't go by what's the latest tech buzzword. Try and understand not only your passion, but what are your strengths, and try to get a bit, and that is through talking to people, networking as much as possible. Use communities to really understand what the disciplines are that actually creates this whole tech or digital culture, as we call it, because digital transformation, service transformation, I mean, we've all done it and we've been doing it for years now. But what does that really mean? Because if like a 16-year-old, if a 16-year-old Dia would hardly understand what bloody digital transformation means, it makes no sense, right? Try and break down these things, and in the process understand, because there might be something you're not aware of and you're not doing currently, which really is your future and you don't know. So just really explore that realm without just going by what you're told or the jargon or the industry buzzwords. So that would be something I'd add to what Joanna said. I don't want to talk about AI and all that. I think we know all that. I think these are the softer bits we need to really encourage the younger generation to kind of pursue.
Yeah, I totally, believe that technology should not be the destination. It is just a means to solve the problems there, right? So people talk about technology. Oh, everyone has to do AI, but what problem is that solving? Yeah. So I think we need to be very clear what problem it is solving. AI is obviously massive. Obviously, you can do a lot in the health tech. There's education technology. These are the growing areas, but don't chase the trends. Whatever people are doing, don't just chase the trends. Chase the meaningful problems. The opportunity is always where the technology is solving the something real. So when you follow the problems, the opportunities will follow you. So I would say that, like anything, whether it is AI or whatever the tech it is, what problem it is solving, and that's the key there.
Lovely, thank you. And final question, all for all the young people watching this now, thinking about their innovation and their future in tech, what would your one key takeaway from this masterclass be?
From my point, I would just say believe in yourself, like supremely keep the faith, go after what you think is right, do your research in the background, but don't get put off by what other people say. And there is no hurry to make that right decision. There is no right decision. Just learn. I think learning and experience is going to slowly take you to the place you want to be. But believe in yourself. Just, yeah, go fly.
I mean, similar, like stay true to yourself, right? You know, do what you love what you do. I mean, we talked about passion, we talked about creativity, we talked about being purpose led. Your professional career and life in general is a puzzle. So while maybe the piece to that puzzle in that moment in time, whether it's should I or should I not take this job, should I or should I not move to another city or country, should I or, you know, what do I do? I was released because the company had a bad financial year, right? Like everything happens for a reason, and careers are not linear, and that's okay. So maybe that's more than one thing, but you get the spirit, hopefully.
I would like to add, there are zero limits. So believe in that. There are absolutely zero limits. The only limits what it exists is in your minds. So if you decide you want to do whatever you want to do, you can do that. Stay focused, take consistent action, and you can achieve far more than what you can imagine. You don't need permission. All you need is the belief, focus, and effort. So the only real limits are the ones you accept. So don't accept any limits, and there are zero limits.
That's a lovely way to end the masterclass. Dia, Joanna, Pallavi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for having us.
If you're watching this and you're interested in the world of tech, or you know someone who wants to build a career in this space, we'd love for you to join the TechGirl community, and I know the speakers can attest to this as mentors. This is a safe, supportive space for anyone looking to take their first steps into technology, so do get in touch with us. And if you're a tech leader, a potential mentor, or you're connected to any higher education institutions that would like to get involved, please reach out to us at techgirl@hottopics.ht. And one last thing, we've made TechGirl official with our shiny new Instagram and TikTok pages. So do give us a follow and keep an eye out for any posts that may feature you. You know, if you attended any of our events, whether that's virtual or in person, chances are you will be on one of our posts. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for our upcoming masterclasses in 2026.